that should be an exciting game. Now moving into the game that I think every South African will be watching,
Right.
Springboks taking on Argentina in Argentina. Now last week was shocking because of the weather. The weather's going to be much nicer in Argentina. What's your take on the game?
Yeah, as you say, I expect the weather to be a lot better. Hail and rain, we're not likely to see those conditions again for some time. The match kicks off at 9:40 South African time, so set your decoders if you can't stay up that late. But they're playing in Salta where they've never played before, so that also needs to be remembered. There's no history at the ground between these two teams. Also needs to be remembered that Argentina have actually never beaten South Africa in any test match in their history, which I don't see changing in this weekend. Mm-hmm. But also to be remembered, 2 years ago the teams actually drew 16 all in Argentina, so that was sort of a low point for South African rugby. We've come a long way since then. Argentina have obviously improved somewhat since then, and Argentina I think will be buoyed by their performance last weekend. Even in the atrocious conditions, they still managed to dominate the scrums. They were competitive at the lineouts, and they sort of took the game to South Africa. I think they were a little bit surprised by the Argentinian game plan, that they didn't sit back and defend. They actually did attack, so hats off to them. Hopefully they do the same thing again. Hopefully South Africa are a lot better than they were last weekend, and we can sort of fight fire with fire. South Africa also have been forced into a couple of changes through injury. We've rested Beeston Torreira. Guthrie Steenkamp comes into the front row, and then the big change is John Smith. He's been out of action for some time now. He's had a number of Achilles injury operations. I think it's as many as 5 now over his career. So he finally makes a start for South Africa at flank. Marcel Coetzee drops down to the bench. So he's a player to obviously keep an eye on, see how he's doing. He's obviously not a spring chicken anymore, into his 30s already, but he brings tremendous experience to the pack for South Africa. So I think coupled with the experience, coupled with what they learned last weekend, South Africa should have too much for Argentina. They sort of have to, it's very early days, but I sort of think they need to now pick up a bonus point for scoring 4 tries, because we didn't do that at Loftus Versfeld last weekend. I think Australia and New Zealand, when they get to host Argentina, will score 4 tries and pick up that bonus point that we didn't do. So interesting there, obviously we need to focus on the 4 tries. If we scored 2 at least at half time, we only need 2 in the second half. We need to sort of turn down the points at goal and go for the tries, which might come back to haunt us later in the tournament if we don't. So South Africa to win fairly comfortably, hopefully a high scoring game with lots of tries, decent weather. I'd say South Africa by 8 to 10 points.
Well, it seems like we have a very exciting weekend of rugby ahead of us. Now, for anyone who can't watch the games and they want to follow the live updates that Sport24 does, how can they do that?
Sure. So Sport24 will definitely be doing live updates on the second test in Argentina. Visit sport24.co.za to follow that. And if you're taking any pictures of the game, send them to mysport@sport24.co.za, and we include them in our Monday morning gallery.